Welcome to the Zen AF Hustle podcast, created for ambitious women who want to have it all without the burnout. I'm your host, Julia Garcia Devanishak. Welcome back to another episode of the Zen AF Hustle podcast, where ambition is sacred and hustle isn't a dirty word. We are bringing the Zen back into your hustle through conversations about mindset, boundaries, identity, and nervous system regulation, and what it really takes to build a life you love while you create your ambitious vision. Today, I am joined by Solé Stewart, who is a fashion tech founder and content creator building Terra, and I'm so excited to bring you this conversation. Let's get into it. All right, welcome everybody to the Zen AF Hustle podcast. I have Soleil here, and Soleil, are you ready to bring the Zen into your hustle?
I am always.
Yay. Okay, so tell us a little bit about you and what you are creating right now and why it matters to you.
My name is Soleil. I'm 24 years old and I live in New York. Well, I work in New York City. I'm from Jersey. And I recently graduated and I've been building my fashion tech application since March of last year. I've kind of had to, really kind of dig deep and figure out how I can become the version of myself that can be a founder. But I did have a vision for myself to be a founder and I've been on that journey and I've just been loving it. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing. I also work a full-time job in finance and just trying to figure out the balance to both and figuring out when, the next step is for me.
Amazing. I love that. What's your fashion tech called? Does it have a
So it's
name?
so it's called Terra. I gave it that name just because I'm an earth sign. I know Terra means like earth, means planet. And I wanted to give it a powerful name, something that I knew, when you hear it, you're not gonna like not know how to say it. It's four letters like my name. But that's kind of why I chose that name.
So what does it do exactly?
Yeah, so when I was in college, I loved getting fashion and, having different pieces, going to college in New York City. You start to see that everyone comes in with their best fits, like it's kind of a fashion show. And I've always been into it and I really leaned into it in my last year. And as I started finding the different brands that I liked, um, I realized that they're expensive, but they also go on sale. So I would kind of just really track these brands and find out when they would go on sale. If you realize a lot of fashion brands, they will release a collection and then they'll try to sell it as much as they can and then they'll go on sale once they have a new collection. So I was just always ready when that new collection was happening. They're having the archive sale, they sent out the email, and I would buy it then and I'd buy things at a really good price. But I realized I was just tracking my inbox a lot and it's just super cluttered. And I just thought there could be an easier way to be able to organize those fashion brand newsletters. So Terra is basically taking in all of the newsletters that you would want to subscribe to already, but we categorize them for you. So there'll be different folders for those emails. Some are about sales, some are about restocks, new collections, and then you kind of just get to live your life and then you'll get a notification about an email that you decided you want to get one about. So it's kind of just like a one clean space for you to save product links, but also get those notifications for the brand updates that you actually care about. And it's just like a clean, isolated channel that brands can kind of like communicate with
You're
users.
like speaking to me right now for sure
You know what I
because
mean? Like I have in my inbox, I have like Domino's
that's
edible
so cute.
arrangements. I'm like, I can't have a life. I can't be updated on this. So I just wanted to have a system that like did it for me. So that's what Tara's trying to tackle.
Like if I could show you the amount of notifications I have for my email, I wouldn't say I'm OCD, but like there's like part of me that it just knows that I just know that there's like 1,000 something emails that are just unopened
Hmm.
and then on Black Friday, forget about it. Before Black Friday, I'm like, who can I unsubscribe to before I get this like windfall
Hmm.
of like mess in my
Yeah.
inbox, you know?
You got to like get everything together. Like, what are the things that I wanted to buy? What are the brands I want to look out for? Like, you have to have a whole spreadsheet and everything. It's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, okay, that's amazing. I love that. What season or stage do you think that would you say that you are on in terms of your ambitious journey? Like, you know, are you in like the stage, the build stage, the integration stage? Like, where do you think that you are at? Breakthrough stage?
Yeah. I want to say flow stage. I
Okay.
think I started March of last year, and that was that spark stage. That was those initial growing pain stages. That was trying to figure out what it was I wanted to do, how that could look, and what that infrastructure looked like. But I think because I took the time to do that last year. This year, it's really about now that I have that infrastructure and I have a clear idea of what I'm doing and a vision for where I want to walk, I've been able to kind of really fall into a flow and just consistently just check things off every single day and kind of live in that truth a bit more. But I think the beginning phases was more about kind of like defining what it was. But I'm just kind of getting to the point where I even feel comfortable about walking in that path and like, just knowing everything I'm doing is aligned with what I want to do. It's like I think it's alignment, like flow and alignment, I
Hmm.
think is where I'm at.
I like it. What do you think got you through that first stage then? Like, because I know right now you're probably, and I'll ask you about what you're bringing in, like what kind of Zen you're bringing into this stage of your hustle, but what do you think got you through that initial spark stage where, you know, you're trying to figure it out, you're trying to figure out, and
Hmm.
you're trying to allow yourself to do something and, things like that. Like, what did that stage look like, and how did you get through it, do you think?
Yeah, I want to say it was not easy. I think in general, deciding to create something and deciding to step into a new version of yourself you want to be is huge. Coming out of college, I had to really have a new shift in identity because I was very comfortable being a student. I loved being a student. I got to, live off my parents and I'm getting to just like go to school, enjoy myself. I was struggling, but I enjoyed it. But after college, it's like your life is kind of on you. Like
Hmm.
everything that you do is on you. You are carving your path. And I think at first I was really scared of that power. But I wanted to claim that as well. I saw other people doing things that were my age, and I wanted to understand like what they had that I didn't. And I think that's how I thought of it back then. It's like they had something I didn't, whether that was money or capital or, just network or experience. Like they just kind of had something and I wanted to know what I needed to do to get it.
Hmm.
And I ended up talking to a couple of these people, just kind of messaging them because I knew I just wanted to be as close to it as possible. I knew I wasn't ready to build something on my own, but I said I need to pivot somehow. I need to have some type of new redirection that will allow me to get closer to that. So I just kind of hopped on calls with them and asked them like what they kind of like what made them decide they wanted to do it. And one thing I saw in common between all of them was just kind of like deciding to figure it out. And I think I kind of thought you had to have it already figured out to decide to figure it out. But it's really just kind of coming up every day and just being like, okay, what can I tackle today? What can I chip at today? And how can we move forward? It's not about just having a solution. Like you create the solution. You are kind of carving your way. There is no one path. I think, growing up, you go to school, you get the degree, that's the path you're told to do. But if you're doing something that's a little bit different, especially entrepreneurial, you are carving it. You are deciding what that looks like. You are the person that's moving that forward. So I kind of had to reframe how I was thinking about everything and how I was creating my path because there is no one way. It is your
Hmm.
way. It's how you decide or how you figure out what works for you to propel yourself forward. So I got a lot of inspiration from those people and just decided to take it day by day. And yeah, I mean, I can stop there, but that's kind of how that initial phase kind of came to be.
I want to dig a little bit because for anybody listening and stuff, like it would be easy for anybody else to just be like, okay, cool, you did that. But how did you like muster up like the courage? What thought did you have to have in order to reach out to these people and be like, I'm gonna reach out and find out? You know what I mean? Because
Hmm.
most people, a lot of people would just kind of sit back and be like, and just let that be their truth. Oh, well, they have something I don't. Like they have the network, they have the money, they
Hmm.
had some kind of opportunity that I didn't. So I'm gonna just stay
Hmm.
here. Like they must. And like that's where they stop. But you decided to actually inquire. So, what do you think that thought was that was driving you that actually allowed you to have that little bit of audacity to be like, well, I'm going to find out and I can just talk to these people?
Yeah, I think it kind of has to go a bit deeper than that. I'm now that I'm thinking about it. I think it's just my relationship with I'm so woo-woo with my friends, with the universe or whatever.
We
Um,
can woo woo out here, so
You know
don't
what
worry.
I mean? I think that the universe is always looking out for me. It's always like on my side, and I think that's a mindset shift of like instead of thinking like what's the worst that can happen, it's like what's the best that can happen. And just knowing that whatever I want is going to be attracted to me. But of course, it's scary. But I think everything in life is scary. Having a corporate job can be scary. Having, a business can be scary. So it's really just, it was really me deciding that I want to start that path. I want to bring that to me. And just in any way that I can, I want to attract it towards me. And again, like the way that I realized I could do that was just repositioning. Like it's not like, okay, I'm going to do something. It's like, how can we just learn, inquire, research? I think that's kind of the first stage that I saw that was for me. Um, and just kind of like being clear about what I wanted. I mean, I guess before making the decision to talk to people, it was clear about what I wanted. And I
Which
just,
was to pave your own path. What was that clarity that kind of came to you that allowed you to kind of take the next steps and reach out to people and because those are action steps, and they're aligned.
yeah.
So I want to dig into that.
Yeah, it really was it took some time. I did modeling at one point. I did Pilates instructor. I started my Pilates instructor certification at one point. I started making content about fashion at one point, and as I was doing those things, I was being versions of myself, but none of it felt truly authentic. But I had to start somewhere. I had to say,
Hmm.
this sounds interesting, so let me try this. Okay, this sounds interesting, so let me try this. But when you decide you're going to do something, you start to exhibit the traits of the person that is going to be doing that. And I started to see who I was becoming in modeling. I was really only seen for how I looked and how I could pose. And networking. That's also there. So, I liked some of that, but I didn't really get to show more of my thought process, my innovation, how I saw the world moving, the technology industry. Like I really liked that, but I realized in doing that, I couldn't show that. And in Pilates instructing, I liked networking. I liked being in the scene with women who were a little bit more entrepreneurial, getting to connect with other women who were into their fitness and health and wellness journey. So I saw a little bit of that, but I'm like, I don't really fully see myself here. And then content creation, I'm like, okay, a lot more of like creativity. I get to have my own voice, get to hone that. I'm talking about fashion, but I'm like, I'm still not seeing that full version of myself. So I'd stop. I had an ex tell me one time, like, you never stick to anything. Like, you're not, that's the reason why. Like, that's going to be the issue that I have. But the way that I reframe it now is like, I just had to try different things to get closer to the thing that I actually wanted to do. But I got to kind of take different things from those experiences and learn, okay, I like all those things, but how can I wrap it up in a way that feels true? And becoming a tech entrepreneur, a fashion tech entrepreneur that allows me to be in my, networking way. I get to be a technologist. I get to be a leader. I get to lead a team. I get to speak to other women in the industry. I get to create content. I get to do a lot of things and I get to be the version of myself that feels authentic. So I think it's really just kind of aligning the different traits that you have that you want to be able to exhibit. That gives you an opportunity to exhibit them all the time. Like if you're not able to do that in a certain job, it's probably because you start to forget that that's a version of yourself because you're not being that version in what you're doing. So that's how I think it all came together, where I was like, this allows me to be all the traits that I love to exhibit, and I want to be able to see myself in all the time.
Something that you're not saying, but I'm hearing that is like a through line between all the actions that you are taking is that there was like still uncertainty and fear present in all of those things, but you didn't let that stop you. Like whether it was trying a bunch of different things and even having people voice something that could be like negative, like, oh, you don't stick to anything. And reaching out to people, all of that stuff, like I know because I've like done things like that before too. I know that that stuff comes with fear and uncertainty. And how were you able to like trust yourself kind of through those moments?
I think I just trust the universe. I trust that everything is going to happen the way that it needs to. And I think that allows me to trust myself. It allows me to feel like I have my own safety net and any path that I take is going to just propel me into a different path, redirection. Like I feel like that's kind of how I have to anchor myself and knowing like everything's going to work out for me. regardless. So
Yeah.
any misstep that I take is just bringing me right back to where I need and want to be. And just aligning myself. I talk to myself a lot. I look it up sometimes. I'm like, is this okay to do? But like I talk to everyone all the time, every day, but it's like this life experience is with me. And if I don't get to enjoy myself and talk to myself about what I'm thinking and how I'm moving through things and what I want, then, that's I'm missing a whole part of the experience because I want to be able to enjoy myself, my own personality. And that's kind of how I stay aligned with myself and what I'm doing and, where I'm going.
I love that. It's like you are cultivating a relationship with yourself and a trust with yourself through action and through self-talk and through just like that discovery of yourself, and I like what I always like to say is like to know you is to love you. So like, there's different, is there any like other than self-talk, is there any other rituals you use to really cultivate that relationship with yourself and the universe, I guess?
Yeah. I try to give myself a space that feels clear. So there's a waterfront near my house, and it makes a lot more sense when it's not like freezing cold outside. But for a while, I would kind of just take a Saturday. I'd have no plans, and I just go by the waterfront, bring my notebook. I have like a huge sketch pad because I can't really do lined papers for some reason. It just makes my brain feel like I'm doing things wrong. But a sketch pad and just kind of go there. And I just have a voice note and I just start the conversation wherever it is because whatever comes out clearly needs to come out. Like if there's something on the top of my mind, I need to be able to air it out because one thing I've realized is that who I am up here and who I am out here are two different people. This is like a shadow version of myself. The way like the in that internal dialogue is just it's very clouded. It's like it's not when you say something out loud, it's completely different. You feel different. That's the real you. So giving myself that space to kind of just air out whatever is on my mind, whatever I need to be able to, express. And then the conversation always comes back to like, all right, so how are we moving? What are we doing? But just giving me that space to talk it out. I don't want to
Hmm.
feel like I need to wait for an opportunity to do that with someone else when I could just do that with myself. And, a lot of times I come to the same conclusions or I'm able to like just come to a place with it where it makes sense. I get to like put it in its little compartment in my head where it's like, all right, we've spoken about it. We're on the same page. Now we can move on instead of kind of letting it spiral and spin and spin and spin. You just kind of got to give it airtime and kind of have it have its place. And then that's how I feel aligned with like what I actually want to do.
I love that so much. What was one of the biggest identity shifts you've made on your journey so far?
Yeah, I think there's so many identities that you shed when you decide you want to become someone new. I think at first you kind of think like, why me? Like how could I do it?
Hmm.
You just kind of downplay yourself. And I really, kind of maybe attribute it to just, how I was grown, how I grew up. Like I never was kind of told like you can be this person. It was kind of like these people exist, but this is kind of our place.
Mm.
And a huge jump had to be like, actually, no, like there's no difference between me and that person. It's just me deciding I want to be that person. Um, but I think it was me deciding that I could be that person. That was the biggest identity shift. It was like, I feel like that's when I kind of just like woke up, and realized that like I can be whoever I want to be. Like it's a matter of just dreaming up the person. And I think
Hmm.
that's the fun part. I think the fun part is when you get to decide who do I want to be? What is that person doing? How do they, live their life? Like, what does that life look like? I think that was just the biggest identity shift.
What beliefs do they have? Like, what
Hmm.
habits do they, embody and things like that?
Hmm.
Like, I love that. Was there anything like major like that that you had like a major like mindset shift that you had to incorporate or habit shift that you had to incorporate that really allowed you to step in, other than just the realization that it was possible and it was possible for you?
Yeah, I think just kind of I guess taking care of myself. Like I feel like, to be able to support yourself and doing something new is what inevitably will make or break whatever you decide to do. And it's just like maintaining that relationship. And because again, when you decide to do something new, there's going to be so much self-doubt that comes in. But it's like, what do you do with that self-doubt? How do you talk yourself through that? What do you do to make yourself feel better? And just taking care of yourself as if you were your small child. I don't know
Mm.
if you know that exercise where people look at a small version of yourself. And if you're ever feeling like, negative about yourself, it's like, that's who you're talking about.
Yeah, I
And
put her
whenever
on my vision board every year.
Oh my God. And it's like
It's a little
I like
hack.
like that is like that's me. Like I'm my own baby and like kind of figuring out how to be, I don't know, kind of a mother to myself kind of
Hmm.
makes me feel like I'm taking care of myself in a way. And like I think just I have a lot more respect for myself. I think when I also kind of think about it that way. But I think that's how I kind of am able to really move myself forward by just making sure and like hearing the signals when I know that something isn't right and being able to like find out why. Like wellness, going to the gym. If I haven't gone to the gym in a few months and I'm starting to feel weird and like anxious, it's like maybe we should just do some yoga. Maybe we should just like take a step back, cleanse the mind of all the hormones, the stress hormones, and just like taking that second to pause.
That's so beautiful. Yeah, that's amazing. And it's amazing that you tap into these practices and that their function. You right. You don't say like, "Oh, I should just go back to the gym because, we're losing the abs or something like that." You're like, "Oh no, we're losing the mental clarity and things like that." So, what was your relationship with that kind of like that kind of practice? Let's say a physical practice.
Yeah, it's I hate to be like a person that's like against social media, but there was a period, maybe like a year or two, where I was not on social media. And I think for me personally, that just made me hear myself a lot more. I got to kind of see who I was outside of distraction because I wasn't using social media as a tool at that point. I was just using it as a distraction. I grew up on social media, so I only kind of knew myself with that in my psyche. But when I had that kind of period to just not have it, I did feel a lot closer to myself and just in my internal dialogue and what kind of I do without an external distraction or just knowing that that's something I can kind of just like cling to. So when I had that period, I was able to recognize when I would feel anxious and I this was during the pandemic. So granted, this was in a period where there wasn't a lot of distractions of the everyday life. But when I was during that period, I was able to kind of be a lot more introspective about myself, and even just like naming emotions. Like if I'm feeling anxious, I would just kind of really try to feel the experience of the body feeling that. Like, okay, feeling something in my back right now, like okay, like I'm just like you start to recognize the small things your body does when it's experiencing different emotions. And I kind of just felt a little bit outside of myself in a way where it's like there's me, but then there's this vessel that I'm in and I experience different emotions and all those things kind of come together and like the physical, the mental, and just kind of being able to just be an observer in that way. I think when I
Hmm.
was able to observe it from that standpoint, I kind of had a different relationship with myself where it's like I am I'm a passenger and I have a lot more control than I think. Breath work, things like that, like just being able to be more conscious and present, I think is always what is like that baseline that I at this point probably subconsciously come back to where I'm like, okay, I'm feeling these things, like I can come back to myself. I think I just have that more of that reassurance because at some point I was able to kind of have more of that out of body understanding that I can have more power over a situation than I realize.
That's amazing. Like I often suggest that to people to like restrict something that they might be using to like numb or just like mask other things, like and social media is a huge one, especially for, I mean, like literally everybody in the world at this point.
Yeah.
It's actually so easy to do that. And even me, I've been like recently reflecting on it because I do have to use it for a tool in my business. And I'm just wondering now, like, how much is that even true? How much could I actually even cut it back even more? But and it's probably something that I'm going to take my own advice on to restrict for a little while just to
Hmm.
see like if it's actually as what happens? Like, because I don't even want to put like an expectation on it, but like, and I don't put an expectation on anybody when I ask them to restrict something that they think is like either so needed or so a matter of fact or whatever it is. And I just restrict for a little while and see what happens, because the outcome will likely surprise you, right? And so that's amazing that you were able to kind of do that on your own accord. Like, let me just get off of this and like just see what happens. And for you,
Hmm.
it seems like you came back to that mind and body connection that so many people lose, on their
Yeah.
journey, really.
Yeah, and it's hard. It's hard to be to decling from it. Like it's a lot. Like especially how social media has evolved. It's just like there's just so much stimulation on there, especially when you're a business owner. You have to use it to be able to get inspiration, to be able to find people to collaborate with, but at the same time it's like it's a matter of consumption and it's hard to find that balance. I don't even
It's
think
so
there
hard.
really is. But yeah, just kind of knowing that impact I think is like kind of a huge help in just
And
defining that
sometimes
relationship.
sometimes you don't know until it's like totally off balance where you're like, wait, like,
Hmm.
so that's
Hmm.
crazy. How do you define success for yourself in this stage of your life?
In this stage of my life, I think it's really about keeping this flow state and maintaining this relationship with myself. I think, I have ADHD, and that can be a
Well,
thing
don't
that
we all?
it's a weird thing. Like I'm
According to TikTok, don't we all?
right. I go back and forth where it's like, do I have ADHD or is this just like how the mind is and I'm
This
just
is just
learning
how the
how to
mind
work with
is
my
for me.
mind? I swear. So like I think it's about like figuring out how to best work with yourself, not against yourself. Just kind of putting those things around you to kind of buffer yourself. So I feel like I'm at a point now where I've been able to find those things that make me feel the most confident in what I'm doing and just kind of maintaining that and not letting me lose it. Like I said, I talk to myself, but there was last year, I want to say there was about 4 or 5 months where I didn't. I think I just forgot or something. And I take it so seriously because I look at myself, I'm like, girl, I'm so sorry. Like I have not been talking to you.
Yeah.
Like you've been feeling all these things, you've been saying it all in your head that this is not you. Like I being able to just like, you know, internal dialogue, I feel like it just makes life fun. Like where I'm like, girl,
I'm
just
laughing because I know like I know what you're talking about. Like there's like it's funny because it's like you're like, oh, I talk to myself, but for me it was I forgot to talk to God, So
mm-hmm.
I even though I've had a relationship, with that part of myself for so long, I forgot for some I literally forgot, I was like I was just on my own, and if it
Mm-hmm.
sounds similar to what you're talking about, you're just like on your own, like you weren't talking to yourself, and like
Yeah.
I would argue that we're talking about the same thing,
Yeah.
so I know exactly, and and that's why I chuckle because I literally forgot too. Like I was like, wait,
I'm
what?
like, I forgot why. I don't
Forgot you
know.
were there.
I literally forgot. Yeah, I feel like we are. It's like really just like I see myself in the mirror, but I didn't see myself. I didn't
Hmm.
hear myself. And they say to be seen is to be loved, and it's like I was not seeing myself. I was just experiencing life. I was a passenger in life, but I was not, the person kind of driving.
Hmm.
And
And
when I
conscious and intentional.
Yeah, and intentional. I just kind of fell off with all my best practices. I don't know why. I think maybe I was just overwhelmed. I think I kind of can get very overwhelmed very fast, especially with my own ambition and my own vision, and not really carving out that time. I think like sometimes you just kind of feel like you have to fit in that time for yourself, but it's really about carving out that time where it's like, no, like I need this time to kind of really reconnect, and just kind of get on the same page with myself. Because if I'm just doing too many things, it's like, okay, what's next? What's next? What's next? Rather than like, I'm doing this next, I'm doing this next, because then you know how to fit things in, like having my schedule, making a to-do list every day, really knowing what I want to tackle day by day. I think it allows me to be very present. I just really want to like hone that practice that I have for myself because I think that's really what's going to define who I become in these next coming years is those practices that make me feel the most strong. So really just kind of like reaffirming those practices and trying my best to always realign myself if I find, myself deterring, because I know I'm not happy when I'm in that stage because I'm like, oh, like I don't even know. I'm just kind of like doing stuff and it's like
Just
that.
like in a whirlwind of other
Yeah.
people's demands. Yeah, I totally get it. It is literally like the core of this podcast and the core of my brand, Get Zen AF, and like the tools that I'm creating is really to just use rituals to really be more intentional and more conscious of the life that you are creating and not just going through the motions of just day by day, and really finding the value in doing those things and honoring them on your to-do list instead of, just fitting them in like whenever is like actually like this is prominent, on in my day to day. And if this is disconnected, then everything else is disconnected. Nothing
Yeah.
else really actually matters. So what I'm trying to do really with this and sharing this story and this strategy that is behind the strategy, is really understanding like how to cultivate that and so that you can move forward and create the impact that you want to create in the world. So
Hmm.
I in doing this and connecting with all these ambitious women, like it really gave me, and I just got this again, it was me listening to myself and being like, okay, even though this is going to take so much more time and effort out of my day and out of my life, I had to follow that impulse as well. And what it showed me was that, again, I'm not alone. People need this and want this. And it's not just my voice that needs to be heard, it's more voices like yours that people can see in you, right? Because I'm a 39-year-old mom of three that is just starting my business and I'm a stay-at-home mom and all this stuff. But you are a young woman that is out of college and it needs to be shown and shared by more people, the same message, so that people live a little bit more intentionally. And just hearing what you're creating and what consciousness you're creating it from just gives me so much more hope for my girls and the world that they're going to be, coming up in. And like all of this matters. And I'm just tooting my own horn at this moment because I'm so glad I
It's
followed this
true.
impulse.
Yeah, it's the whole point. Like, you don't want to feel like, I would hear adults talk, or, when I was like 14 or something, I'd be like, yeah, you snap your fingers and 20 years goes by. I'm like, that sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah.
But as I gotten older, it's like, maybe you just weren't present because, the time is passing, but you're also here every single day and every single second. And I just want to, I think I've felt a lot more present by being intentional and being able to like understand how I'm utilizing that time and like how I can carve myself into this life that I'm creating and not letting life kind of carve it out for me. And I think that's the power I realize that I can have. And it is mine and it's always been mine. And just always kind of like, honing that in.
In the world that I study, we call it being at the cause and not the effect, right? Like it's like
Mm,
putting like things are happening, you're making it happen, it's happening for you, it's not happening to you. You're not just like,
mm-hmm.
a leaf in the wind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the other question I have, just given where you are in your journey and what another little part of this podcast is really about is, it is definitely finding the value in prioritizing yourself and also this idea that as women, we can have it all. And I almost feel like I'm like asking two questions where one question actually tries to answer the other. But I was just wondering, like you in your stage of life, when you think about the future, career, love, health, family, right? What stories have you heard about what women have to sacrifice to be successful, and like how do you feel about it? Like, what do you feel is possible?
Yeah, I think being a businesswoman, you can sometimes think, okay, and being a boss babe, there might be those things where you're going to be juggling a lot, you're going to be doing a lot of meetings, you want to have the family, and the kids and everything, and I feel like there is a small fear that I won't be able to juggle that when I get older, um, but I think the what I see for myself in the future is that I can set myself up so I don't necessarily have to be involved for, I don't have to be doing so much for so long. I'm like, let me put in my hours and time now. So when I'm at that point, hopefully I'm able to kind of have things kind of moving for me. But you know, I don't really see it as anything that I can't handle, but I don't know. I guess I'm seeing your question as like, what are those fears for how I see see my future version self kind of
I think
becoming?
like some one of the narratives I've kind of seen a lot, except especially for younger women that are ambitious and they're in their career and they're in the thick of that, and they just don't see how it's possible to add another thing that might hinder their success or, whatever it is, like they might not be able to handle it. I just want to know if there's anything that you have heard about what women have to sacrifice in order to be successful and like again like defining whatever success means for that person, and for you like specifically
Yeah.
um if there's anything there that you feel like would hold you back or is holding other people back.
Yeah, I think one thing that I am scared of losing is my community. I think one perk to how I'm living right now is I don't have so much responsibility. I don't have to, worry about too many other people besides myself. So that means that I can do my full-time job. I can create my business. I can also go out with my friends. Like I want to say 70% of my friends are from high school, so they're my family at this point, and being able to have them in my lifestyle always makes me come back to myself. Like I call them my time capsules because I'm like, I have one person that's literally seen me when I was in third grade, and most of them have seen me when I was literally 14. So it's just like you have seen a version of myself that I really don't remember, but you do, and that makes
Mhm.
me remember. And I always want to feel like I can have that in my sphere because it just makes me feel so grounded and so good. And I when you say having another thing on the plate, yeah, that definitely does worry me because even now, like, I had someone tell me that, oh, you should get a side job of like editing videos. And it's like, I simply cannot even think about that having another thing on my plate. And that's just like a small little thing, let alone a family. That's why I do think when I get older, like something's gonna have to come off the plate. And I feel like it again, if I don't know how everything's going to come out, but I would hope that like I can put things off the plate and set things up in a certain way where I'm able to kind of like have my cake and eat it too. But of
Yeah.
course, that's always just the dream. But I do it does feel like things will have to kind of have to come off the plate, but I think it'll make sense. I hope it would make sense when that time comes.
One thing I would love for the younger generation to know is that you guys are not going to have the same um I don't want to say issues, but challenges that, like, for instance, like my generation has. I'm a millennial. Because I just feel like if you guys really take advantage of everything that is at your disposal right now, even though, like, listen, like I could have been a YouTube star by now if I would have just kept to my YouTube channel, like back in what, 2010 or something. I don't know,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
I like, I'm a little bit of a hypocrite saying this, but like you guys have just so much information, whether you even like it or not, whether you utilize it or
Yeah.
not, whether you take advantage of it or not. There's just so much more information at this
Yeah.
point that is just readily available to you. So hopefully, we know you guys can all take full advantage of that. And, there's a lot of things going on in the world, and like millennials got hit with a lot of stuff too, that kind of like, we took different paths. However, again, like I hope that you guys just utilize everything that you have at your fingertips in order to prepare yourself for the future that you actually want, and just being somebody that is already thinking so consciously and intentionally about what they're creating. Like I have no doubt that you will, do that.
Yeah, like I think like we got bombarded like with tools and everything and trying to figure out like the best ways to kind of utilize them, and people took a chance like you said, even just going on YouTube, like no one knew what that could potentially like do.
Yeah.
But it's just like I guess because we all know now like how we can best utilize them or how other people have best utilized them. Yeah, there is a lot to kind of take advantage of, and like yeah, just really trying to squeeze it as much as you can because like you said, it really does make it feel like the possibilities are infinite.
Yeah. Okay, so I want us to end with a little lightning round. So the first thing is, what's your non-negotiable right now? It could be a ritual, an affirmation, a practice. What is like a non-negotiable that you are currently doing in this season stage of your life?
My like to-do list book, like I have like a little sketch pad book that I literally just write everything in. Like this is my Bible. Like this is how
Is
I
it a brain
know.
dump or like what is the
It's
strategy?
everything. Like if I want to draw something, I'll draw it. If I need to like just kind of write some notes for something, research, think something out, like literally it's like like literally today's flow, coffee shop, like literally
Yeah.
just like anything. Like this is just what makes me feel like me. So like this is my non-negotiable for
That's
sure.
funny. I have a catch-all notebook like that too, where it's just like everything and anything. Okay, I love that.
hmm
A thought that you hold that got you to where you are and might inspire others. Like I see thoughts as something you can like literally try on, but like what is like the thought that you think that got you to where you are at this moment?
The universe is on my side.
I
I
like it.
think
You've
that
said it a
always
couple
makes me
times. I
feel
love it.
good.
Okay, cool. The universe is on my side. You guys can try that on, okay? What's one thing that you're celebrating right now?
I think I'm celebrating just the new year. I'm still trying to appreciate the last year just because I feel like it had so much growth for me. And just it's propelled me in like different ways even for the new year. But I think still celebrating the last year and really trying to like understand and appreciate who I became in that year.
I love it. Growth. I love it. So complete this sentence. I'm in my Zen AF hustle era because
Because it's it's a part of the hustle. Like that is the hustle is finding your zen throughout. That's how I see it.
I love it. Okay, so like tell everyone where they can find you, support you, and follow along.
Yes, I post on TikTok. It's at sosocutie underscore. My Instagram page for the app that we're building is at Terra app. I post about my journey, about me figuring out how to be a startup founder, the different trials and tribulations that come with it. So if you want to kind of come along for the journey, follow me on there, on there.
I love it. I will definitely follow you. Thanks for being on here.
Yeah, of course.
Thanks for listening, Ambitious Babe. And if you are ready to bring the Zen back into your hustle, be sure to visit getzenaf.co to find out more.